Hello and welcome back to Hit the Streets with me, Steve G. You're watching a street photo review session where we're going to have a look back at Monday's video, and we're going to take the photos from that and we're going to talk a little bit about them and talk about what worked and what didn't work. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that video yet, it should be here. So click on it and come back to this one. I'll be waiting. Still waiting. So regardless of whether you agree, disagree, sympathize, empathize, whatever your point of view is on what the Extinction Rebellion is doing in central London, you can't help but argue that it's an awesome opportunity for street photographers like myself to get out and capture some awesome images. It's not something you see every day in central London. And of course, on the day we saw all sorts of sights and sounds happening in Oxford Circus. I started the POV slightly further up towards Tottenham Court Road and worked my way down, so it took a little while to get started, but when it did, almost everywhere you turned there was awesome photo opportunities. One that stands out in particular is the young girl standing up on the side of the subway platform waving the flag over her head. She was so stoic in that little moment, and I think it makes for such an awesome photo. The flag would have been really great if it was lovely and outstretched and you could have seen the Extinction Rebellion's logo, but beggars can't be choosers, and I think it's an awesome photo regardless. I then circled round to shoot her from behind. Sounds really dodgy. But that one didn't quite have the sort of impact that I was looking for. From there, it was really a case of trying to work my way through that crowd. And I mean, this is a very new channel. The point of view video that I did and that went live on this channel on Monday is actually the fourth one that I've done, but it's the first one that's gone live. And I've learned quite a lot this past month, and it was a really interesting problem to almost have to mount a GoPro and squeeze between so many people in such a cramped and crowded place. I think for the most part it's worked out really well, but what you will find in 3, maybe 4 weeks of doing these POVs when they go live on the channel is that technical quality really will skyrocket. I had some interesting hurdles to overcome on this day. Like most days in central London at this time of the year, it can be bright sunshine, and whatever time of the day it was, half of Oxford Street was almost in complete shadow and the other half was in this bright bleached out sunlight. And I shoot on an X-T2 with a 27mm f2.8 lens. And what I find comes in really handy with that camera is the aperture compensation mode, up to +3, down to -3. So whenever I was in the shadows, I was putting it up to maybe +2. When I was jumping back into that bright sunlight again, I was putting it down into the negative numbers just to compensate a little bit for that. It's so much easier having a physical dial like that rather than having to go into menus and fiddle about with stuff when you're trying to take photos. That's part of why I love that system, and I just love the practical dials. One of the photographs that I really like on the second half of the POV video, which I really liked, was almost this Colonel Sanders lookalike, this KFC ripoff guy. And he was preaching to the choir about how he wasn't allowed to join the protesters at the centre because they were cut off by a police barricade. And I actually almost encouraged his little rant, and I stooped down slightly lower than him and shot from ground level sort of up to give him this larger than life megalomaniacal look about him that worked out really well. So yeah, all in, I'd say it's a really good session. Street photography is always a little bit hit and miss, especially with a little bit of an unknown protest going on where you're trying to shoot where you want to shoot. And then on top of all of that, you just sort of hope that the streets are generous enough to give you some of those opportunities. And that's pretty much it. If you're liking what I'm doing with this channel, hit subscribe and you'll get a new street photography point of view video every Monday. And then you'll get this rambling mess of a video every Thursday where we sort of look back at a couple of my favorite photos. There'll be loads of other really interesting content coming in the future, so hit the like button too. And I think that's everything. How do you normally wrap up a YouTube video? Like this? Point, I'm gonna sneeze.